Good morning, everyone. We're going to spend some time today talking about metacognitive overload. As teachers, it's important that we are aware of what this is, and especially how we can avoid this. So first of all, what is metacognitive overload? In any assignment, but especially a computer-based assignment, we have to be aware of the demands we're placing on learners. In other words, we don't want to overwhelm with unnecessary pictures, text, or animations. This is especially important for our students because some of them are very easily distracted, and we have to be aware that even in a computer-based assignment, they can be very distracted just by what's on the screen in front of them. So how does this happen? Well, I have found as teachers, we love images, sometimes a little bit too much. We love our audio and we love words. And so we tend to overload our screens, our slides, our projects with all of these things. And we don't really stop to think about the impact that might be having on our students. So let's take a look at an example. Take a look at this slide. I've put a lot of text, a lot of colors, a lot of images. And notice too that I'm talking over it and not really giving you a chance to read it. So with all of that in mind, did you notice that you didn't know where to look? How much could you actually recall from that slide if I gave you a chance to discuss it? Probably not very much. Your eyes may have been pulled by the images that were sliding in and out, by the animation that was in the corner. Your eyes may have been distracted by certain colors that were there. So now if we look at the same slide, and I get rid of some of those images, I changed my text to be black only, and I took some of the wording out to make it a little simpler. Now I'm going to stop so you have a second to read it. Okay, now if I talk about this slide, you'll definitely remember that when we want to avoid cognitive overload, we need to limit the text that's on the screen. We need to allow time to read the slide. We need to limit pictures, and we need to keep it simple. I think the second one may be one of the most important ones because it's important to know that they can either listen to you or they can read what's on the slide, but it's extremely difficult for them to do both at the same time. Some tips to consider. Well, research tells us we cannot multitask. Our brains are not capable of that. We try, especially as adults, but often we fail at that. What we're really doing is giving a little attention to one thing and a little attention to another thing and splitting our attention between the two. As kids, that can be much harder to go back and forth. We need to chunk information and think about the rule of 3. Presenting things in only 3 helps us to remember it a little bit better. And finally, my last tip is to think about the schema of your children. We have to build on the background that they already have. If we can connect this to what they already know, they will be more likely to remember it. Stick with the visual as much as possible. Don't overwhelm it, don't overload it, but our minds tend to remember visual more than they remember anything else. My last tip is just something my elementary school teacher used to say. She used to say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Obviously, the best thing to do is to keep it simple and direct, make it more meaningful and easier to follow. We want to remember that our students have different needs in all assignments. Easily distracted students in person can be just as easily distracted online. You want to practice with this. You definitely want to make sure that you are not overwhelming, and the simpler your assignment, the more direct your assignment, the better it will likely be.